Josh Hoover has the chance to be the next great quarterback at Indiana, but apparently the folks at TCU are pretty salty about his departure.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day and the nation's #1 sports podcasting network. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for making that so. And thank you again for supporting the show however that you do. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. We've got stuff to talk about in terms of Indiana basketball because even though we just played Saturday, Hoosiers are back in action tonight against Oregon inside of Assembly Hall. Dramatic win Saturday, maybe a little less drama tonight, hopefully against the Ducks. We'll talk about that, plus what Bracketology says about the Hoosiers with the win Saturday and what a win tonight would do as well. But I got to start today's show with an article that came across my timeline, and it's a couple of weeks old, but it's still relevant, about transfer quarterback Josh Hoover. Of course, left TCU, has committed to Indiana, has signed with Indiana, and has every chance to be the next great gunslinger in Bloomington, to follow Curtis Rourke, who was incredible, and Fernando Mendoza, who just won the Heisman Trophy. But an article that I saw from Fort Worth Star-Telegram, okay? And I'm not trying to call them out or the actual writer itself. It's more of the idea here, okay? Mac Angel, I believe is how you pronounce that, the name of the guy who wrote this article. The title of it says, Indiana's next starting quarterback left TCU with plenty of stats, but not a lot else. Folks, TCU is salty. Their fans are frustrated. Their fans are butthurt that Josh Hoover left Fort Worth and came to Bloomington. And I get it. The guy's a great quarterback, and that's why we're excited about him being at Indiana. There's a reason he is the third best betting favorite, last time I checked on FanDuel, for him to win the Heisman Trophy next year. The guy is incredible. His talent is unbelievable, and Indiana has a chance to make him even better. But I don't understand why TCU is so salty about this. This article goes through and talks about the drama here with Josh Hoover, talks about the last month or so when he was there at TCU, where apparently TCU officials and coaches and people thought that he was coming back. There was apparently or supposedly or, I don't know, reportedly, I guess, a deal in place verbally for him to return. But then things started to get a little weird. He wasn't really wanting to be in the facility. There were conversations going on, so much so that the backup quarterback at TCU made some comments about him kind of being checked out and not engaged. Then Josh Hoover decided, hey, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else. I'm taking my talents somewhere else. And it sounds like Sonny Dykes, the head coach at TCU, begged Hoover to play in the bowl game. He said, nah, I'm good. And he left. And TCU people are up in arms about this idea. And I'm going to give you my 2 cents and my opinion, as I do every single day on this program. I don't really care how he left. I don't really care what the feelings are of folks there at TCU about how Josh Hoover left their program. You obviously don't want to hear things like, yeah, he just up and left one day, left us out hanging to dry and you know, burn things down on his way out, right? And knocking things off the shelves. You don't want to hear things like that. But in this era that we're in of college athletics, college football in particular, man, this thing happens all the time. And can we really blame Josh Hoover? That's the thing that gets me with a lot of the TCU people who act like Josh Hoover made this horrible decision, that his future is ruined and that he's destined to fail. What sport are you watching, man? What two teams are you watching comparing TCU and Indiana? You look at the stats of Josh Hoover from his first year of starting and his second year of starting, they didn't really get all that better. And that says more to me about TCU than it does Josh Hoover, because I guarantee you his stats in 2026 will be the best he's ever had in his college career because he's at Indiana. And so I don't know if TCU is just salty because they lost a Heisman contending quarterback. I would be. I don't know if they're salty because he chose Indiana, but I don't remember there being any bitter rivalry with TCU and Indiana on the football field. And my pushback to this whole thing is, man, how do you blame the guy? How do you blame legitimately? How do you lay there at night and say, man, he made the wrong choice? Can't believe Josh Hoover did that, man. Can't believe he would leave the greatest place on earth. And I can't believe he doesn't want to be a Horned Frog. And I can't believe he went to Indiana. Like, there's no logical way you've convinced yourself of that. He left TCU, a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team with a middle-of-the-pack head coach and a middle-of-the-pack talent on the roster, to go to Bloomington, Indiana, which is the hot commodity. We know that. It's a destination place for every single player in the sport. We know that, especially quarterback, to join the nation's best head coach in Curt Cignetti, the nation's best offensive coordinator in Mike Shanahan, and one of the nation's best offensive quarterback coaches in Tino Sunseri, who just returned to the Hoosiers from UCLA. You're telling me he doesn't want to be a part of that? You're telling me that Josh Hoover is an idiot for choosing a place that just produced a Heisman Trophy winner? Come on. TCU's just salty. They're mad. They're butthurt. They're upset. And look, again, I get it. I do. You just lost a generational talent at quarterback, and you don't know how to handle it. You're not handling it very well. But I don't understand picking apart the last couple of weeks of the Hoover era at TCU and then blaming him for picking a better situation. And even if he didn't pick Indiana, the situation would still be the same. The feeling would still be the same of he left a place that wasn't benefiting him, where he clearly didn't like the offense. And oh, by the way, the TCU offensive coordinator left to go to South Carolina. So why would he stay? Why would he hang around when he could leave, enter the portal in today's era, still get paid, knowing that there are better options out there? I don't really understand it. I don't know why you wouldn't say, man, thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you for making TCU relevant the last couple of years, and best of luck to you. I don't know. That's just how I think. Maybe that's too nice. Maybe that's too positive. Maybe that's too grown up. I don't know. But I don't really understand why you would hate on Josh Hoover, pick him apart, and say that he made the wrong decision. So maybe it's just a fresh wound, right? Maybe it's something that they just, they'll get over it with time, right? Time heals all wounds. Maybe that's what's going to happen here. But I don't think the drama with Josh Hoover at TCU is going to carry over whatsoever to Bloomington. And again, I think he has a chance to be one of, if not the nation's best quarterbacks this season and compete for the Heisman Trophy, just like Fernando Mendoza did last year. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we're going to flip to the hardwood because Indiana back in action tonight. That's right. Assembly Hall better be packed. It better be loud as the Hoosiers return to host Oregon. We talk about that matchup and why it is sneaky tough. We talk about that coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Football is over. Did you watch it last night? Great game, great result, and sad that football is over. But the winter games are officially here. And if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. I love the winter games, man. I do. It's my favorite. I prefer it over the summer. And so that's why I'm getting after it. Okay. That's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling. Oh my gosh, dude. Curling, hockey, bobsled, skeleton, luge. They're running down the ramp and basically on a sled. It's incredible. That's what makes the winter games so awesome. And you can be a part of that with FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, time to play your game. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana Athletic. Shout out to our everydayers who are here every single day. And man, there's a lot of you, and we really do appreciate that. If you're looking for a little bit more of Locked On Hoosiers, if you want some more content, want some more access, and just to be a bigger everydayer, you can join our Everydayer Club right now. It's $5 a month. All right. That's basically a cup of coffee, not even nowadays with how prices are. And you're going to get tons of stuff with our Everydayer Club. Okay. Check out lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. That's lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. We'll have the link for you in the description below as well on YouTube and on audio. First things first, you're going to get the audio version of this show every day ad-free. So if you're tired of hearing it, tired of listening, tired of doing whatever, that's fine. $5 a month, you'll get the show ad-free. You're also going to get access to our Discord server, which is a big private group chat with a bunch of Indiana fans, myself included. So you'll be in there. Plus, you're going to get cool access to some merch and things like that. So for $5 a month, that's a lot, man. Tell me what other things you can get that much of for a $5 bill. I don't think so. So check that out in the description below. Let's talk some Indiana basketball, huh? Saturday was fun, huh? Saturday was a blast for Indiana as they take down a really good Wisconsin team inside of Assembly Hall. Was it stressful? Yes. Was it a little too stressful? Yeah, probably. But I said on the live show on Saturday, and I'll say it again, I don't care how you win basketball games at this point. This Indiana team, we're not allowed to be picky. We're just not. We're not allowed to be picky with how this team wins basketball games. We're allowed to critique and we're allowed to hope and talk about the things they need to do better. But a win in the Big Ten is a great win. And I know it was at home, right? That's why the win at UCLA was so big, because I don't care who it is. A win on the road in conference play is a massive win. That's why the win or the loss against USC was so disheartening, because you had every chance to make it happen. But you returned home, had a lead, blew the lead, and then got it done in overtime, where I didn't realize these two teams combined for only 11 points in that 5-minute stretch. Ugh. For two offenses that are solid, that's not all that great. But 78-77, Indiana gets back in the win column, and that's a Wisconsin team. I'm telling you, they're going to make the NCAA tournament, and the Hoosiers have every chance to do that as well. So we'll talk bracketology coming up in our final segment, but quick turnaround for the Hoosiers. Back inside of Assembly Hall tonight, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, as Oregon stays on this side of the country and stays in this state as well. They played Purdue on Saturday and played them pretty darn close. If you didn't see, Oregon had every chance to get that game, man. They're on such a tough losing streak, are the Oregon Ducks, but that's the best game they've played in weeks. I mean, since probably the Michigan game that they played, which was, what date was that Oregon played that Michigan game? That was back on, if it shows me, does it? January 17th. So almost a month, 3 weeks. That's the best game that Oregon has played, was against Purdue. And I totally forgot or missed it or whatever that Nate Bittle was coming back for that game. And I watched it, and we were actually discussing it on the live show on the YouTube channel. And it was like, oh yeah, I forgot, because those two games were going on at the same time. And it was like, man, Oregon is hanging around. Oregon is competing. Oh my God, Oregon's got the lead. And I had totally missed that Nate Bittle was coming back until I saw him in the game. And he made a heck of an impact, too. He played his first game in nearly 3 weeks, did the big man for the Oregon Ducks. And in that game against Purdue, where they lost by just 4 on the road at West Lafayette, Nate Bittle went for 23. 23 points, where he only shot 1 for 8 from downtown. He's a big man that can shoot. That's scary. 23 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, had a block as well. It's a low rebounding number for him. But the Ducks had a couple of other guys, 2 more forwards that we'll talk about in just a moment. Nate Bittle makes this Oregon team instantly competitive again. Because before this game, which again they lost, did the Oregon Ducks, their losing streak, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9. 8-game losing streak going into Purdue, a 9-game losing streak now going here into Assembly Hall tonight. This is a beat-up team. They're still without some of their best players. This is possibly a demoralized team, And that's what we talked about on the live show on Saturday was, yeah, we'd love to see Purdue lose. But that's the last thing I want is a motivated Oregon team picking up a win on an 8-game losing streak and carrying that into our game tonight against the Hoosiers. Didn't want that at all. So Oregon lost. They're now on a 9-game losing streak, but maybe they found something. Offense was abysmal in that game. Defense was solid. Shooting numbers were terrible. And Oregon brings that into Assembly Hall this evening. Here's who you need to know and what you need to know. All right, the Oregon Ducks are a big team. They're not very fast, and again, they don't score very many points. But Nate Bittle is that dude. He's 7 feet tall, 220 pounds. He averages 17 and 7 on the season when he plays. 17 points and 7 rebounds. Indiana doesn't have somebody to compete with that. We just went up against a 7-footer in Wisconsin and didn't really have an answer for him. I fear that will be the story tonight. I fear that Indiana will not be able to stop Nate Bittle, a guy that is, for his career, a 30+% three-point shooter as well. Not only can Indiana not hang with him down low, Hoosiers cannot extend good enough to defend him on the outside, whether that's Reed Bailey or Sam Alexis. They can, but I don't know if they can do it consistently. And I fear that Oregon is going to spread this Indiana team out with Nate Bittle and open things up for a guy like Kwame Evans, who is also a very good basketball player. Did not play good against Purdue, but a guy that averages 13 points and 7 rebounds. He's 6'10" as a forward. That's a scoring threat that Indiana has to pick up. And I don't know who gets that assignment. I don't know. If Tatum Connerway, obviously he's a big guard, but if Tatum Connerway is able to be back in this game, right? He was injured, started to work his way back. They called it an illness on Saturday against Wisconsin. Maybe he can hang with him. Maybe Sam Alexis hangs with him. I don't know. But Indiana, man, we're going to be outsized in this game. Plain and simple. Sean Stewart's another one that we need to worry about. Their guards, I'm not concerned with. Their guards are all hurt. It's the bigs down low. So points in the paint might be an issue. Spreading this Indiana defense out might be an issue. And something we talk about all the time with the Hoosiers, defending without fouling is key to me. It's key because Indiana's going to have to we're probably going to have to play both bigs in this game at the same time. Sam Alexis and Reed Bailey, obviously not for 40 minutes and probably not even for 30, but there will have to be stretches, in my opinion, that both of them are on the floor at the same time. I don't see a world where Indiana can hang in the paint if both of those guys are not on the floor. If one of them gets in foul trouble, we're in trouble. But here's where Indiana's got the edge. It's at that guard spot. It's at that guard position that I mentioned, because Saturday against Purdue, Takai Simpkins is the one that is stepping up for them at the guard position. But other than that, they just don't have a whole lot. And defensively, this Oregon team, at least from outside the painted area, they just don't have it. Okay, they gave up 84 to Iowa, gave up 70 plus to UCLA and Washington, 81 to Michigan, 92 to Nebraska. So I think Indiana, I think we can feed off of our offense. I think we can feed off of our guards. If we can continue to play good basketball in the offensive end by sharing it, not turning it over, moving without the basketball, and just avoid the trees in the lane. That's what you're going to have to do. Either that, or if Bittle gets in foul trouble early, get after him. But I've said this so many times. The Indiana guards are so much better when they force the ball downhill. When they get inside and get to the rim, I'm talking Lamar Wilkerson, Tatum Connerway, even Connor Enright a little bit too. They are a better team, and the offense works better when they're forcing it in the lane, because it's simple. The defense collapses. They bring over extra help. They're going to foul. They're going to collapse. They're going to open up shooters on the outside. And that allows somebody like Tucker DeVries or Nick Dorn or Trent Sisley, if he can get some minutes in this game, which I think he needs to, and I don't understand why he's not, or even Josiah Miles with the basketball in his hands. I thought he played some good minutes the other day against Wisconsin. Indiana's the better team, clearly. You're the better offensive team, the better overall team, the faster team. Defensively may be kind of a toss-up, but the Hoosiers have to find a way to get around the bigs and you got to find a way to stop them on the defensive end. Indiana cannot afford to lose this game if we want to do the things we want to do, aka making the NCAA tournament. This is a bad loss if you take it. This Oregon team, the numbers are abysmal. You're talking Q3, Q4 loss on your home floor, and those are things you can't overcome them. You cannot recover from those if you're trying to make the tournament, and Indiana is, of course, trying to do that right now. So, Indiana and Oregon tonight. Okay, you've got this one. And here's why it's important for the Hoosiers. You've won 4 of your last 5. The only one was on the road at USC. You need this win tonight because your next 2 are as tough as it gets. You go at Illinois and at Purdue. All right, at Illinois on Sunday and then at Purdue in the midweek. We'll talk more about the schedule coming up in our next segment in terms of bracketology, what the updates look like coming up tomorrow. But Indiana needs this win against Oregon. I think the Hoosiers get it done. I do. I think they struggle early, but I think we find a way to knock down some shots, make Oregon frustrated, and run away with this one. So let's say Indiana wins this game tonight against Oregon. Those 2 games coming up are super, super tough, but could just catapult you up the rankings and the standings according to bracketology. We'll talk about that in our final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Wayfair. The new year is here, and it's a perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and how it feels, right? That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, my roommates just did that. They just bought a couch on Wayfair like a month ago. They absolutely love it. It's a big sectional, super comfortable, and super nice. And so you can do that right now with Wayfair's huge selection. It makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and your budget. Thousands and thousands and thousands of options on every piece of furniture you can imagine. So get to Wayfair right now if you're looking to update your home a little bit in 2026. So get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. This episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want a candidate who matches what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move, okay? Because instead of sitting there in your office and you're hoping that the right person just shows up, right, that they find your post and luck into it, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills and certifications and experience and the location too. All those things that are important, Indeed jobs, sponsored jobs, is going to help you do that. So here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed's data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you're hiring, do it the right way and use Indeed. All right, final segment here on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers as we are continuing to talk Indiana basketball, but a little bit more on a broader scope, right? A broader landscape, because as we barrel our way through February, bracketology talk begins to heat up. And we talked about this in the live show on Saturday, and we are still waiting for the latest update, at least from Joe Lunardi at ESPN. You can look at whoever you want. There are several out there, but they all kind of have the same idea that Indiana's flirting with a 9 seed right now. And that was going into Saturday, okay? But you get that win over Wisconsin, who was also a 9 seed in bracketology. Tells me that Indiana should probably move up on that seed line, right? I think a lot of that has to do with what happens tonight, because Indiana proved in their West Coast trip and the game on Saturday that we can beat quality opponents. The USC win would have meant so much, man. God, that would have been so nice. But beating Purdue, right? Beating UCLA on the road and then handling Wisconsin the way that you did in overtime at home, the Hoosiers have proven that we are a tournament team. But it's not just about, and crazy enough, it's not just about beating tournament type of teams and proving that you can beat those teams. It's also proving that you can handle your business too. Handling business against mediocre opponents, bad opponents, teams that you are favored to beat. And that's what Indiana has this evening. So again, bracketology as of right now, Big Ten has 11 teams in, according to Joe Lunardi. This was on Friday, Ohio State being the last team in. Okay, of course, Michigan is in there as a 1 seed, and actually they're playing as I record this, and Michigan was up by 10. Iowa's in there comfortably. Nebraska's a 2 seed. USC is a 10 seed in bracketology, but they beat Indiana. See what I'm saying? That's another tournament team that Indiana could have added to the win column, but that's okay because you've got a chance tonight to take down a team that you have to. And that's what sucks about the game this evening is Indiana can win it and nobody cares. Nobody bats an eye. Most people probably don't even know that the game is happening tonight outside of the folks like us who wear the cream and crimson, but you have to win it because if you lose, everybody knows. Everybody would know that Oregon snapped a 9-game losing streak on the road in Assembly Hall. Everybody would know that Indiana lost probably the easiest game on its Big Ten schedule heading into the 2 possibly toughest games on your Big Ten schedule outside of the trip to Michigan, because you go to Illinois and you go to Purdue. Wouldn't you like this team to get back on a roll on a 2-game back-to-back heater where that would be 4 of your last, is that right? No, that'd be 5 of your last 6 games that you had won heading into Champaign Sunday and West Lafayette on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day that is. Or maybe Thursday or Friday. I can't remember. Anyway, you want some momentum going into those 2 road games because nobody's expecting you to win both. Most people aren't expecting you to win either one of them. You talk about boosting your resume and pulling off one of those wins. We'd love to beat Purdue again, but I'd love to beat Illinois too. I love that team. I think they're very good, and they fell short the other night against Michigan State in East Lansing. Michigan State was desperate. They had to have that win. So I want Indiana to have a little momentum and continue to shoot up bracketology because here's what's left. After that 2-game stretch, you're home for Northwestern, home for Michigan State, big opportunity there, home for Minnesota. 3 straight games inside the hall that you can absolutely win, right? Remember the first game against Michigan State wasn't pretty, but a chance to a chance to make up for that. And then you go on the road to Ohio State, who's not all that great. Indiana is a tournament team right now, but a loss tonight could knock you out of it. It'd be that dramatic, and some chances coming up to get some big wins and secure your spot. So it starts this evening with the Oregon Ducks. We're excited for this game. We will be going live on Locked On Hoosiers on the YouTube channel immediately following the game. So make sure you subscribe, check in on your audio podcasting platforms as well. We'll post the audio there and all that good stuff so you never miss new episodes of Locked On Hoosiers, okay? We are back tonight for a live show and tomorrow for a normal episode, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.